welcome back to RØDECaster User Meetup. I am back with a little bit of a raspy voice, little messy hair, cough drop, hot tea with honey, lots of water next to me. Anyway, welcome back to RØDECaster User Meetup for the next hour. You know what it is? What month it is? It's Ecamm October. Hence, you're seeing my Ecamm shirt. Ecamm October, we're going to focus our discussion on RØDECaster usage, specifically for Ecamm, and you can be a part of the conversation. I already see several people. Reggie is there, Rob is there, I see Shakanulu is in there, so say hello in the chat. I also drop, I will do that again, a link to the URL so that if you want to participate in this show, since this is a collaborative learning channel called Learner to Learner, you can be a part of the learning process. So if you go to the website, come down to call in with Zoom, this button right here. If you click on it, it will pop up a registration page. On that registration page, you will click on, fill out your names, your email address, consent to join the show, and optionally, if you want to share with us the reason why you want to call into the show, especially if you have not participated in the show before, you've never commented or emailed me before, that I may not know who you are. I'm wondering if you're a real person or a bot. Might be good to leave me a few notes in there letting me know that you are real. And of course, if you have that link, you can join us and through Zoom. And from there, you will be able to get onto the show, like Charles is in the background. So let's go say hi to Charles. Hello, Charles.
What's going on, man?
Forgot to fade your audio up. My gosh, 1 week, I'm out of practice.
I know.
But I have my Ecamm shirt on.
There you go.
Ecamm October. So I'm excited. I'm also a little bit unsure of how I want to start this. So I'll throw out a few ideas and see what you guys think. I do want to focus. At least I want to try focusing on the discussion of Ecamm, because we always occasionally bring that in and then we'll drop it off, bring it in, drop it off. So October, we're going to focus on that. So we're going to go back to talking about Ecamm. And obviously the next hour, or this at least next 55 minutes, we're going to talk about the RØDECaster Pro usage for Ecamm. But that topic is not as simple as one might think.
No. Definitely not.
It is. So let's just set our expectation. This is a start of a conversation. We have at least a few more weeks to go. Tuesdays, unless I, have another call, knock on wood, hopefully not. Otherwise, we will continue the conversation. We can repeat the things that we talk about if it is relevant to other people. We could also cover a little bit here, a little bit next week, more the following week. And it's perfectly fine to, jump around as long as it's within Ecamm usage and RØDECaster. And having you here, Charles, would be a good person to start, because and anybody else who may join us after the fact or watching this as a replay, and if you are a RØDECaster user and how you use your RØDECaster with your Ecamm is sometimes very different, and how you want to use it is also very different. So I did tell Kelvin to just join us, and I did tell him by email saying that I would love to at least address some of his issues, but I did warn Kelvin that our focus tonight is on Ecamm. But we will talk a little bit about that. I think he reset his RØDECaster Duo and need a little extra pair of ears to check on his sound. So hello, Kelvin, welcome.
Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing?
Good. Oh, is that what we're hearing? The little blur, blur, blur. Is that what you mean by something is different? I'm hearing something.
You could be hearing tons of stuff because I just reset it and didn't do anything except um
Sounded
I
like an
also have
interference of some kind, is it?
I was going to say line interference.
hey, here's some line interference. You guys have excellent ears. You know, I'm always surprised at what you guys can hear.
Well, we can talk a little bit about that as well, but I just want to at least having the opportunity to say hello to you, Calvin.
Hey, hello guys.
And then we'll talk a little bit about and you do live stream. You got all sorts. What tell me, maybe Calvin, what do you use for your setup? Are you on a Mac machine, Windows machine? What do you use for your setup? OBS, Ecamm,
Yeah,
whatever.
I use one reason why I got excited about hanging out with you guys is because one thing is that I use very similar tools that I heard you mentioning. So
Uh
I
huh.
got a setup of Zoom, Ecamm, and Rode Duo, and
Okay.
I got some music going into it and things like that. So, I got a lot going on, and I was sitting here and I was like, man, I'm gonna create a diagram and everything. But I say this to say, I got a bunch going on, so the interference could be anything from. Wait a minute, I just realized. You see, I'm doing too much. I got my fan here on that I need to turn off.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit more, and I'm so glad that you're an Ecamm user because it's perfect for tonight. In fact, Nee just called out to us saying that your mic is a side address mic, meaning you're supposed to be using it from here, and you're using it from as an end address mic. We
Yeah,
can.
and see, I'm glad. I knew I was doing something crazy because you know, true story. I'm one of those techie guys that don't read the instructions.
You're not one of them. Yeah, there are many of us out there, which is why I think one of the intro videos I did was like, if you're one of those people who would like to try new tech but don't want to read instruction manuals, or if you want like instant gratification, just come on here and let people tell. No, that's the wrong way. Twist it this way, and then yeah, that's the you got the right crowd there. So yeah, and usually your logo is where the diaphragm is. So if you're
uh,
kind of like where the AKG logo is, if that points toward your mouth, that would be the direction that you want your diaphragm to be pointing toward. But so we can figure out what that interference is. I cannot tell you what. Do you have other channels turned muted, or is this just your?
yeah, I got a lot going on. Let me see if I can actually show you guys. Thanks for the consideration, especially with everything I got going on. I mean that you guys have an agenda. I was getting ready to switch my camera, but then I was like, where's my Ecamm? It's a fun thing about Ecamm is it disappears and you have no idea where it's
I have to do a little bit of a different setup this week because I wanted to show I wanted to see, here's the thing. I'm p- I'm
I have,
not sure
I have no
what
idea
I'm
how to do it.
hearing.
You hear that? So I also got an air purifier because I logged in too soon. Let me turn off that.
It's not it's definitely
It's
in the
not.
signal. It's not like a
Yeah.
sound source. It's a signal. It seems like it's doing that for us as well. Is when I speak, does it?
I
No,
don't
no.
hear anything.
So you don't hear the crackle.
No, I don't hear the
Okay,
crackle.
why don't you try this, Calvin? Mute your mic for now. Just mute your
Okay.
microphone.
I'm unmuted on the road.
RØDECaster, yeah. Okay, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely
It's
that
something in the
source.
line.
Yeah, it could be your cable, but he's not hearing it. So we definitely hear it, and it's coming from, and you mute your microphone channel right earlier, Calvin. Oh no, I'm still hearing it
Yeah, and I just actually saw it. You could see it on
on your.
on the screen.
Do you hear
Watch
it?
when
But you don't hear it.
I don't hear it, but I can see it. Watch when I mute this, and you can see it when I stop talking.
That's just your room noise, probably. Like I'm hearing like a crackle.
A crackle. Let me go and disable this thing real quick. Give me 30.
Okay. All right, that's very interesting.
Yeah. To me, it really sounds like line interference. Like there's something.
Oh wait,
It doesn't sound like room noise.
it's not room noise. In fact,
It's definitely not room noise.
It's
Nothing.
definitely not room noise.
The channel. Oh wow, what is that? Do you have any like Wi-Fi nearby? Like your Wi-Fi router close to you?
I have tons of cables, and I could probably clean up these cables. So,
Okay, okay. Why did you do this? Your mic, let me see. Does the phantom power off? It's off, right? It looks like the phantom power. So it's not, it's a dynamic mic, or is it a condenser mic? I'm not sure if I'm looking at your mic channel or not.
I think it's a condenser. I'll have to confirm.
It's a condenser.
I think
So are we looking at your mic channel right now?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. So if you, go to your mic channel, go to your mic one, and then turn off your phantom power, the PP. What is the phantom power? Yeah, that one. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So the thing is like,
when I turned it off, microphone, of course, stopped.
yeah, of course, yeah, because it needed that phantom power to turn on. Do you have another microphone?
Yes, I do.
Is it hooked up already?
It'll be fast. I hook it up.
Okay, all right, go ahead, hook that up. But okay, so I'm gonna switch gear again. I told Calvin that we may not address the sound issue completely, but we are gonna at least try to at least have partially the conversation. And I'm not sure if it's a microphone or if it's the cable. See, we're hearing it.
Cable.
Well, and
Oh,
I mean, it's
knees
good
here.
that he's using the same cable.
Yeah, we can test it, right?
So that way we know if it's the mic or the cable.
Now I'm super curious. Wait, I'm still hearing it.
It's the cable.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was suspecting. I was suspecting.
I was gonna have him unplug and unplug it and replug back in. But then because he has a condenser microphone, I didn't want him to do that. Just yank it out.
You can hear.
Oh, he has a pod mic coming. Like I can still hear the little crackle.
Yeah, because I was hearing it on the live stream.
Yeah. Anyway, 12 people watching. So if you guys are a RØDECaster user and also an Ecamm user, this month we're talking about Ecamm, even though right now we're trying to do something else. His speaker may be near a Wi-Fi route set, but we won't hear his speaker. It's the microphone that's picking up. Oh, okay. So he needs to turn. You can hear us, right?
I can hear you.
Okay. So is this plugged into the same channel? We suspect it might be the cable. And you might want to, since it's a pod mic, maybe you want to switch over to your pod mic setting on your RØDECaster mic channel.
So whilst he's doing that, one thing that I can see from his video is all those cables crossing.
Yeah.
And I can see a power. Look, I'm trying to touch the screen to touch. I can see power lines crossing with your
audio
cable, also your audio cable.
Yeah.
So that in itself is like bad for it, because some of those is
because essentially your microphone cable is an antenna, and then your power is causing the interference, the signal being picked up by your microphone. So the best is let's hear you a little bit. I think I still hear it.
Okay.
Yeah, I still
Can
hear
you hear
it.
me?
Yeah, I mean we can hear you, and we still hear the same interference. Okay. So I wonder if you have, are you able? I mean, if you're willing to, get your cable, either a completely new cable, just plug straight into channel 1 or input 1, and then plug into your pod mic, or untangle all your cable and just have it simply connecting from your mic to your RØDECaster input 1.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll grab another cable, and if you guys want to switch, I'll also declutter, because I know that's a thing. And
yes,
I'll hang out with you guys tonight.
It will cost the sound, but again, like I said, Kelvin, as I warned you, we're gonna probably switch gear a little bit and talk a little bit more about the Ecamm side. But I'm glad you're an Ecamm user, so I'm very happy you're here. Clay also said that having cables touching each other can also cause this as well, especially if they are like Wi-Fi or any sort of like RF signal, radio frequency signal. Electricity would also cause that. Power adapter would also cause that. So take a look at those and see if you have those culprit around that might cause that.
Will do, because I think I got one of every one of those cables running back there. So thanks, guys. Go ahead and switch gears. I'm gonna
Of
clear
course,
up
of
my
course.
cables, and we'll talk later.
All right.
I'll just hang out if that's cool.
Yeah, you can hang out, and if you're not speaking, keep yourself muted, and then remember to unmute yourself when you come back on. And the gear that I want to switch in is, I don't know if Nee still use Ecamm. Do you? Do you still use Ecamm?
I gotta get up there.
No. You used to use it?
I used to use Ecamm.
Okay. So my question then, I'll probably then start with Charles, and kind of, I've been battling this, like, how do you tackle this? It's such a big topic, right? Ecamm and RØDECaster usage. But I thought maybe all things lead to use cases, like how we do our setup for our RØDECaster and our Ecamm is based upon what you want to do when you either record or stream. And so maybe we can start by talking about how you use, and it could be as simple as, I'm using my RØDECaster because I have one, I'm using it as a microphone. That could be as simple as that. So I'm curious, I will let Charles start, and maybe Nee can recall like what you were using it for before. And there will be people who are using an Ecamm software that does not have a RØDECaster, and they're thinking about, should I have one? And our conversation might actually lead to some of those answers as well. So Charles, why don't you start? Like, would your usage be sufficed with just a microphone, a USB microphone? And how do you use your RØDECaster now?
Yeah, so I definitely do not use my RØDECaster to its full potential. That's for sure. What's funny is, I use it on podcast interviews for this show, and that's about it. I basically, I have hosted podcasts, I have hosted interviews. More often, I'm on the interviewee side. So I use it simply because I have a lot of control over the audio, and I can make sure that I sound good, because obviously when I'm doing a podcast, I want to make sure that I'm sounding as good as possible, or any online interviews. But for the most part, I just use it as a microphone. I don't really use any of the other features other than that. I could totally use a USB microphone to simplify the setup, but
that's a valid point. Some people want to make sure, if they have, especially if they have a microphone like SM7B, that you want to have an audio interface that has powerful enough preamp to drive the microphone. So,
well, that's the other thing. Like, I've tried, when I first started getting into this, I did use a USB microphone. What I didn't like is relying on software. I already run enough software. I don't need to run more software. So if I can offload some of that processing to actual hardware that's not dependent on my Mac, then I'd rather do that.
Okay, and that's a very valid usage as well. You want to run, and another reason to do that is tactile factor, right? You want to be able to hit a mute button physically on your RØDECaster, like right now. I want to hit this button, I want to mute it, whatever, I want to change the volume, you can do that, rather than trying to look for that interface where there's like the volume button where you have to click and drag that, right? So there's definitely that factor as well. Hello, Cindy Lou from New Zealand. We have, let's see, let me see, I'm going through a Shaka Nulu said Ecamm Live, RØDECaster Duo, Pot Mic USB, and Lewitt 440. Okay, so that's your usage. So yeah, we have quite a few Ecamm Live users here. Okay, let's see what Clay says. Clay's been on the show before too, and he's got a really cool YouTube channel as well. So when I stream more than one guest on Ecamm, I kept getting problems after long periods. around 45 minutes or longer, it would freeze my guests, eventually cutting off their audio. Okay. So, and Clay, maybe can you clarify to see if you're probably using the interview mode. You're not using the integrated Ecamm Zoom. I would imagine if it's been a while, you're probably using that. And some of that is because Ecamm has its own interview mode where essentially they're building a web chat functionality, kind of like Riverside or StreamYard, where the application is connecting to the web and your guests are connected to the web, and then tap into their sound into the Ecamm application. And I've used it. It's not great. In fact, I didn't start paying for Ecamm until I know that Zoom is on its way, because the experience with, if you only have like one guest maybe, or maybe two guests, it might be okay. But my podcast, well, you guys know, sometimes there's 8 of you, 10 of you,
Oh, yeah.
and my other podcast too, typically it's that case. You have 10 to 15 people getting on at the same time, and it was just unable to handle it as well as I would like for it to. Um, so let's see. I'm gonna tackle the question: is there a RØDECaster? Is that the RØDECaster or Ecamm? Oh, okay. So that was Shaka was asking.
So with what Clay was saying, that was my experience with Ecamm, and that's why I never really went back to Ecamm. Not to say the platform is
So the
bad,
chat
because
portion of it.
the chat portion of it was giving me a lot of pain. That I
Mhm.
found that when what was his name came up, the Riverside and Podcastle came up, it solved a lot of that issue that I wanted in terms of chatting with people and not having it cut in and stuff like that. So then I wasn't even using Ecamm, and I was just using Ecamm to do was most of my school videos. Using it for my school videos, that was like pretty awesome in terms of the recording aspect, and I wasn't using it for the live streaming because I'm not a live streamer. I was using it a lot for the recording aspect, and I think that was one of the main things that got me into Ecamm, because it was much easier than OBS when it comes to recording and the setup. So I started using Ecamm, and I loved it. But then it's just that the chat portion was what drew me off.
So let's maybe rewind a little bit. I'm wearing an Ecamm shirt. By the way, you also get a discount. Ecamm, if you go to the description of this show, you will find a 15% off code, and using my affiliate link would tell Ecamm that I send you there. And it's for the first payment. So if you use the functionality, if you use the software, it's a subscription-based software. So if for the first payment, if you're new to Ecamm, the first payment is 15% off. So if you pay for a year, it'll be 15% off for the whole year. If you do monthly, it would just be 15% off that 1 month. So try it first. But you obviously don't need to get it just because, but you can obviously try it and then test it out and see if you like it. You will get to hear for the next month the discussion of how we use it, and some good and some bad. And we're just going to talk very honestly about it, why I use it and how I use it. And let's see, I have a question from Cindy Liu. If joining a show via Ecamm Zoom, should I use my Ecamm to connect?
This gets into another interesting discussion.
So let me see if I got this right, and let me see if at least Charles understood this question the same way I understand it. Maybe that would be a Glenn thing as well, because I think Glenn has been having issue connecting to this show using your Zoom inside of Ecamm. Is that correct, Glenn? Is that still the case?
I can't. By the way, hello everyone.
Hello.
And I can't get in. If I try to do the, even if I use a separate pass key and a separate code, which usually gets you in, once you do the code, it sends you back to start. I'm not allowed to break the barrier. I cannot break the glass ceiling.
We'll figure out this month. How about during Ecamm October? We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And
I was promised assistance in October. It's October the 7th.
it's our first show, and so recap, going a little bit, rewind a little bit. Ecamm mostly is a software for creating layouts. It's a live streaming software, so essentially it allows me to, switching to this, allows me to switch to, Charles using this live Zoom's active speaker. So if somebody else speak, this will switch to a different user. It could also allow me to do layout like side by side, me and Charles together. And I can also do some presets where we have 4 guests here with us, so I can just do this as well. So I preset all this. I set it on my Stream Deck, which is a different can of worm. We can go into it. We can do like Stream Deck September next year, and so you use your Stream Deck to pre-program different layouts so that I can be fairly quickly switching from one layout to the next live as I'm talking to you guys right now. So, but doing all that is great. And I think that is, we can talk about that too, especially for people who are not familiar with it. We can talk a little bit more about it. Calvin, we can say something?
Still hear it.
Yeah, we're talking candid about Ecamm, right?
Yes. No affiliate. I mean, I'm a paid customer.
So I have a love-hate relationship with Ecamm. I've been using it for about 4 years now. Streaming probably once a week on Thursdays, and I was using it before they enhanced the Zoom integration, the API. And initially I bought it because I'm like, oh, this is going to give me the perfect Zoom, interaction, whatever. But it was early on, and I gave up on it. It was probably 2 years later that they actually enabled that feature. As a result, I then said, okay, I'm going to do this whole speaker room. And in the speaker room, I'm join via the Ecamm website so I can get everybody on the screen and try to, just have a great experience. The challenge was people were so much more accustomed to Zoom and how to even navigate Zoom. And then I was having all kinds of audio feedback and everything on the web, and I had to stop and try to teach.
Yeah, wait, so are you using the Zoom part of Ecamm, or are you using the interview mode?
Initially, my challenges were with the interview mode, and I wanted to have the interview mode piped over into Zoom.
So you did switch over to using the built-in Zoom, like what we're doing right now, right?
Yes.
And your issue is you have a lot of audio issue when you're using Zoom inside of Ecamm, or is it interview mode that you have audio issues?
I had a few issues, but the issue that really kind of made me wait and like give them a few more years to get it right was when it crashed doing a live show.
Okay.
And I got kicked out. It totally crashed, and I had my admin, my co-host, to be like, I'm gonna reboot my computer. I don't know what just happened. And that's when I was like, I'm gonna wait until they get it right.
Now I did crash my live show maybe 5 times on air, but I was using the beta version. So, I mean, I asked for it. they never ask you to go live with the beta software. And I wanted to do it because, the learning channel is, I'm going to learn while I'm doing it. So maybe that is something that we can talk about. Maybe not tonight. Immediately we can tackle that question, Kelvin. I'm very happy to have a good discussion back and forth with you, because this is how I'm able to run the show, is using Zoom via Ecamm. And it has never, have I ever had any bumpy roads when that came out? Yes. But it is still smoother than me trying to use my Google Meet with OBS. And so So let's talk about it, because there might be just a few settings here and there, especially if it's an audio thing. By the end of this month, I would at least cover it once, if not twice or 3 times, how I do my audio setup. And my audio setup might be the most complicated that you ever want to touch or go near, but I think, to me, the most flexible. Once you set it up, it will be there. You don't have to change anything. All the different various scenarios and situations should cover it. So we're gonna tackle that. But I'm gonna go back to you again, Calvin. Give us a description on how you use the interview portion, whether or not it's an interview mode. Like how's your show utilizing your RØDECaster and Ecamm?
Sure. Now, I say love-hate because I really, really love Ecamm, and I really started using Ecamm because I just got overwhelmed with OBS. I'm a guy, I don't want to spend too much time in the learning curve. OBS just drove me crazy. When I ran across Ecamm, I like the UI. I said it's going to be simple, so this is how I use it. I have a Stream Deck connected to Ecamm, and I have, of course, my video in the background. I have a few scenes, and it's easy and quick because when I'm going live, I'm doing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm playing music, I'm interviewing, doing trivia, I'm doing a lot. So I really don't really have any patience for anything that's like weird.
Yeah.
So that's for the most part. I'm not using the interview mode anymore because it essentially was too complicated for my speakers because
Uh-huh.
my speakers are low-tech speakers
Yep.
and I was comfortable that they use Zoom every day. Now, I was really excited when they launched the API interface that you're using right now.
Uh-huh.
I tried it a few things, and one thing I loved is exactly the feature you use of how I can get all my speakers on a single screen. But like I said, that crash is what really made me pause. So I still use it for all my scenes. Like if I go and switch scenes right now, that's my scene, and
Mm-hmm.
these are all of my scenes that I use. But all of those are being ran through Ecamm now.
And so so you're not currently doing any interviews, so you're not bringing any online guests on at this stage.
I bring them through Zoom.
You bring in through Zoom, but separate Zoom app,
Um,
or Zoom within Ecamm.
Everybody is 100% on Zoom,
Uh-huh.
and I know it may sound weird, but I'm paying for it and I don't use it really because I love it for the OBS type features, but I don't use any of the interview tools, so I just keep everybody in Zoom.
No, so you still bring people in through Zoom, but when you do your show, let's say when you're doing your show and you talk to people that you're interviewing through Zoom, do you launch the Zoom.us app, or what do they call it now? Zoom workspace app, or do you use it inside of Ecamm? Because Ecamm has a Zoom application, full-blown Zoom built inside of Ecamm.
Yeah, and that's a great question because there's a few flavors, right? There's the interview room you were talking about. There's the Zoom built into Ecamm, and then there's the Zoom app that's separate, right?
Yeah. Wait, okay, so
So
what's the first one? The Zoom what?
I call it the Zoom app. I just call
Zoom
it the
app.
separate standalone app.
Uh-huh.
Then there's the Zoom that's
Inside of Ecamm, yes. And
and
then
then there's the interview room
what
inside
is
of
interview room? I don't know if I know
That's
that.
what he's talking about, the legacy interview.
Oh.
Ecamm.
Oh, the
Interview, yeah.
Ecamm interview mode.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they
that's
still
what
have
he's-
that? Because I thought it was
They
still
do.
Yeah, they do.
No, they still
It's
have
still there. It's still there. It still works the same way, which
So-
means it hasn't
so you're-
improved.
You're using the standalone Zoom app, not the one that's integrated into Ecamm. Okay, so
Okay.
when you do now, are you doing podcast profiles or is it mainly just you speaking?
It's mainly me, typically.
Okay, so you're using the spotlight feature probably in. I gotcha. So I understand what he's doing. So he's leveraging he uses Ecamm for some of the scenes, but he's also leveraging the full capabilities of the Zoom app itself by setting himself to spotlight, and then if he needs to bring up another person, he can co-spotlight someone, and so that way to the Zoom room.
So when you zoom
he's
out,
doing it almost webinar style.
when you broadcast, do you broadcast from Zoom?
I don't broadcast.
Oh, you record. Like
Yeah,
okay. So I see. Okay, that's why. So you are then really your last point of distribution. It's really you're recording using Zoom, not using Ecamm to record. Oh my gosh, I'm so it may take until next year, but I'm so happy we have this conversation because I'm so wanting to convert you into like, oh yes, I'm gonna use this because I can see the potential and the headaches and the things that you are going through or that had been through. Hopefully there's an answer for it. I mean, I'm hopeful, but be patient because I'll be off for the next 2 months. So continue doing what you're doing. That's working for you. But I have a feeling the more we talk, the more we can get you to a point where you're like, I'm going to do it this way and it's going to save this like a ton of headache. Hopefully. I'm hopeful. Thank you for explaining your use case for us and sharing that so that when how you use it could be what other people might be thinking about using it or not yet thought about using it. And so that's very helpful. So now I'm going to go to Glenn. Glenn, what about you? How do you use your RØDECaster and how do you use your Ecamm?
It's been a little while. I'm gonna get past this October 15th deadline, and then I'm gonna get back into the groove. But the highlight of my little coin podcast was an interview with someone, and I would simply set up an appointment with them, and we would meet at such and such time, and I would bring them into the legacy interview room, and I would record the conversation, and we would do it through the interview room. So I wasn't using Zoom for that. However, I do have plans to use Zoom. I've been paying for something for months now, and I haven't used it once. But anyway, so I do have plans. I understand. See, this is the thing, John. I understand the importance of using Ecamm for Zoom as the host. It allows you to use your scenes. It allows you to behave just like you're in Ecamm. It gives you all that capability. What I've never really understood is what is the advantage of the audience coming in outside through Zoom or coming in through Ecamm for Zoom. It seems like they achieve the same goal, and if they don't, you can help them achieve the same goal if they're coming in from the app. So that's the part I've never really understood.
Yeah, we can definitely. We have a few more weeks to go, and not just on RØDECaster user meetup. We also have Soundcheck, so we can carry on some of the conversations because this is the format of the show. It's driven by a lot of the questions, and it's driven by a lot of what we collectively want to understand. And so I can't really force it to go a certain way and say, okay, this is going to be the lesson you're going to learn from this week and all that. So it will be a collective. Just take this whole month of at least, if we do 2.5 hours per week, we will at least have, 8 hours in within 8 or 10 hours in the next month that we can bring back the focus on. And I'm actually quite surprised how many Ecamm users are there. I'm actually looking at this is getting me excited. Live online learning, shortcut how-tos. So I'm looking forward to this month, he said. There's all your conversation. And actually, Shaka also told us, like Shaka Nulu also said that he's an Ecamm user. So I'm very surprised how many Ecamm users are actually there. Maestro, are you an Ecamm user too? Yes, you are, right? Yeah. We don't
Can I hear you, Maestro?
Are you muted on...
He's muted on Zoom.
Mute on Zoom. Sorry.
Muted?
Yeah, there you go. Now we can hear you.
John,
Well,
I was gonna say,
yeah,
you have the AI feature on Zoom
I do.
that can
Yes.
that you can use to separate out all those questions. You could take all those questions and just put it into the whole chat and put it in there. It's going to draw out the questions because I don't know. I kind of get where Glenn is going with his question that he asks. I think,
Yeah,
yeah,
but I'm trying to also focus a little bit more so that it's not everywhere, and so we have like about 18 more minutes to go, and I would like to talk about how how Ecamm users with the Rodecaster would typically set up their the settings on the Rodecaster. In fact, I really don't know actually, because I only know my way of setting it up. Maybe we can have like a volunteer telling me how they set up. Okay. Charles gonna tell us.
I was gonna say I'm probably the complete opposite of you. Like you have the most complicated, and I have probably the most simple.
And here's what I would like to do. The goal of talking about this is not like, oh my gosh, Fancy John has all this complicated setup. The goal is, if you are setting it up this one way, is there any restrictions to it? And if there's restriction to it, how do you solve it? And so I want to see Charles, and then I want to quickly talk about a video that Daniel Chi, who's a friend of the show, is dropped in here in the audience before. He's a very experienced live producer using Ecamm day in and day out and hours. So he knows how to run the Rodecaster and Ecamm in a very complex way. But he does come up with a somewhat easier to understand concept setup for other people. But I do find that to be limiting in a way. But the limiting portion could be a benefit for some people, right? Because if you're never going to touch the complexity of how I use things, why do it the complex way? So let's hear from Charles how is your audio, how are your audio tabs set up? How do you, I don't know if you want to screen share. Okay, there you go.
I can go ahead and screen share.
Okay.
So on mine, I mean, in my audio settings, I just have my speaker set to my Duo chat. So I'm on the RØDECaster Duo, so I have it set to my chat channel. And then everything else is turned off. I have my mic delay set to 5 frames.
Okay.
But I don't use system output mix mode. I don't map my input channels. I simply just leave it like this. And then on my actual sound levels, I set my microphone to the Duo chat.
So that's essentially your microphone input is your sound level. Yeah.
Yep.
And then your speakers, what's inside your Ecamm preference audio tab is essentially your speakers. So your output goes to your RØDECaster Duo chat. Okay.
Yep. And so, and that's pretty much it. But now I don't do, I don't ever have guests inside of my Ecamm that I need to control.
Yeah.
Because I'm more along the lines of Calvin. If I am on, generally speaking, if I'm on Zoom, I'm doing more webinar style. I'm doing more teaching, more instructional. And so I really am generally just pinning myself. Maybe I bring someone up if we get into like a discussion and we may dual pin, but I use more of the features of Zoom than in Ecamm itself.
Do you use the Ecamm functionality inside the Zoom functionality inside Ecamm, right?
I do not actually. I use Zoom app.
Oh, okay.
I have used it. There's just no advantage to me.
Okay.
Because my Zoom rooms are at minimum 45, 50 people at the smallest, and that's pretty rare. Normally there's 300 plus.
So you're using really Ecamm to supply you a fancy like your camera with lots of additional functionality.
Correct. My camera, and I use it to present things sometimes, or I may bring something up on my screen if it's easier to do in Ecamm.
Okay.
I've used video overlays and things inside of Ecamm to do presentations because I don't want to go through the whole share screen process.
Uh-huh.
And I'm already pinned.
Yeah.
So in Zoom, I'm already everything that they can see in
Yeah.
Zoom.
Okay.
And so sometimes it's just easier to play videos through Ecamm, presentations, things like that. I can just pop it on Ecamm real quick. I don't have to worry about sharing screen, finding the right window, and whatever.
Okay. So this would be this is one way of using it, obviously, without using the Zoom functionality of Ecamm. You're really only running your camera, all the various different video input sources, and
I use it like OBS.
Yeah.
I mean, much to Calvin's.
You're piping your Ecamm virtual camera into your Zoom as your Zoom's camera.
Correct, and I use the Ecamm virtual mic, so I get the mic delay, and that way,
Okay.
I don't
sync
run
up.
into the sync issues.
Your video would match your audio.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So I always use the virtual cam and the virtual mic, and then I generally will set the speakers to in Zoom. I will set them to whatever is my default output.
So whatever you're hearing.
Yeah. So it doesn't really use the speakers function of Ecamm. That doesn't really matter what I set this to, because I'm setting in Zoom in my particular case.
Okay.
So.
All right. Okay, so interesting. This is very eye-opening even for me, because, like I said, I'm not stuck, but I'm in my world of how I use it, and it's different. Let's see what the live online learning. Can you tell us your first name? Maybe you did already, because I don't have to say. Hello, lol.
That's our friend down. That's our friend down under.
Oh wait, that's
New
Wayne.
Zealand. In New Zealand.
I thought that was.
Oh, that's Cindy Lou.
Yes.
Cindy Lou. That's what I thought it was.
That's what, yeah. Okay, so Cindy Lou. Okay, I need to understand. Oh, she said something funny. She said that she is an Ecamm owner, but she wants to be an Ecamm user. I thought that's hilarious. Okay. All
but
right.
I mean, I think it's, to your point, it brings up a really good case. It's all about the use case.
Yes.
For me, it doesn't make sense. It would be too much strain on the built-in Zoom integration for me to run the types of meetings that I run. And I couldn't imagine trying to find out of 300 participants and pull them into a camera in Ecamm.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's
3, 4, 5, 10, that's one thing. But when you're talking about 300 participants plus in webinars, trying to find them in the camera switcher and assign them to a camera, because you can't search. In Zoom, I can search for someone. If I hear you talking, I can search for you.
You can actually
and pin you.
You can actually search the user.
Can you?
Yeah. In Ecamm
I know that you couldn't at first. It was very rudimentary.
You can now, but it is, especially if you're familiar with Zoom's interface already. Another thing to watch out for is if you're a heavy user of Zoom, like a power user of Zoom, and you're using Ecamm for what Charles stated, the reasons of like switching, inputs and video or whatever, and then you want to stay using Zoom. Another benefit to using Zoom is some of that functionality that comes out. You know how Zoom, sometimes more than one time they would update their app. Yeah. You will get the latest functionalities and stability and bug fixes that won't necessarily show up in the Zoom application inside of Ecamm, because they have to take the SDK package of the software, implement it inside of the Ecamm installation,
and make sure that it's fully still compatible within Ecamm.
So that's another benefit of not doing that together. Any questions so far?
I was going to say, the way Charles uses it, I think that's the way most people also lately use Ecamm, in terms of using the virtual mic, because that was one of the big things that they introduced. A lot of people jumped on really quick also, and then the virtual camera, because then it makes it easy. One, again, prior to the days of C19, coming up now, everybody's used to getting their live stream and want to get it better to make money, and Ecamm was a way for them. So then I don't have to be switching back and forth. And with like video, when you're playing video, they have that autoplay and that auto continue from where you stop from. It makes your presentation pretty nice. And that's how most people were using it. And because I was using OBS in that mode before I spent money to buy an expensive Mac that could support Ecamm. And then that's how come I jumped onto Ecamm my very first time. And I liked it. But then since I'm not doing podcasts, neither am I spending time doing uh, live stream. And since my church doesn't want to buy a Mac and they want to use PC, so then I had to go back to OBS in doing the same thing. But then it makes life pretty easy, because not a lot of people are live streaming with that. I would say, that I know.
Okay, so yeah, yes, Calvin.
I was wondering why, two things, because you guys mentioned it before. You have your speaker set to chat instead of dual main stereo. Of course, I saw stereo. I mean, like, that's what I want because I play music. But of course, I'm told that chat is actually the two-way whatever. And second, I never use the virtual mic. I just select the RØDECaster dual main. And so I could be having sync issues and I don't know it. But I was wondering, why you chose chat and if you ever, I just haven't seen the sync issues, but I could be having them right now.
So I'll answer the second question, and then I will let John answer the first one. So because John loves that first one. But the answer to your second question, it is funny. Ever since he converted me, this question has come up on every single one that we've had since then. But as far as the mic delay, I'm definitely seeing a mic delay in our room now. And typically speaking, what I've found talking to other RØDECaster users, it's usually about 5 frames. I don't know why that seems to be the common denominator, but just about everybody I've ever talked to that uses Ecamm with a RØDECaster, we all pretty much have it set at 5 frames. But yeah, that's why we do it, just to sync up the video and audio a little bit, and then I will.
Mine's 5 frames too.
There you go. Yeah, everybody I've talked to is set at 5 frames if they're on Ecamm and a RØDECaster. So Calvin, it doesn't matter if it's an OG or Duo or Pro 2. They all have it set the same.
Where's
not me.
You're not. What is your delay on inside your Ecamm's audio tab?
Goose egg.
Yeah, and you've got a delay.
Is there a delay?
Yeah, there's a slight delay.
What is your set? Did you say 0?
0.
You don't have. Oh, okay. No, and also it's not as crucial as it's not as important. I mean, it would drive me crazy, but I would like for it to sync up perfectly, but it is not that big a deal. And there are bigger issues that we have to tackle before that. But syncing up your video with your audio, it's doable, and we can get to it. Maybe one of these days, not within Ecamm October, one of these days we can tackle that syncing and find that. Maybe you don't need it, depending on your setup as well. And your first question, why did you use chat, RØDECaster Chat? Don't get sucked into the choosing stereo because you like stereo. I mean, I love stereo as Charles. It is for that. It's chat, and it is for the whichever application you use, and it's probably not so important for Charles' situation, maybe, because your input and output is separate. So it's not important for Charles to have that set. So you could potentially use, I don't know, I have to think through it. But so the idea is, if you are using the same application that you're using it, let's say if you are in, Calvin, you're in Zoom, right? The Zoom workspace app right now with us, and you have your input and your output, or your microphone and your speakers. And I don't hear a slapback, but that's probably because I don't know if you have original sound for musician turned on, so we haven't gotten into that yet. And so if you don't have that turned on, it could be cutting out your the slapback. So let's just have you look at it while I explain why I use chat. So take a look and see what your mic input is and what your mic output is inside of your Zoom app where you do the meeting. Usually the communication application that you're using, Zoom, for instance, in this case that we're talking about, your input and output has to match. In most cases, like in Charles would be a little bit different. But in most cases, your input and output has to be the same so that you don't get slapback, or sometimes we call it sound like an echo. Like your voice would come back to, like my voice would come back through your system to me a few seconds later. You know, it drives me nuts. So that is what I typically tell people to use and remember, since RØDECaster call it chat, specifically that channel for chat. So let's just treat that channel that's already named RØDECaster Pro chat as the input and output of your chat application, in this case, Zoom. So if you set those chat input as input and output both as RØDECaster Pro 2 chat, typically you are already set. You don't have the slapback issue because your RØDECaster by default would turn on mix minus. And that is the crucial part. The application that you want to have mix minus turned on, the channel that you want to have your mix minus turned on is the channel that you want to use for your input and output of your RØDECaster on your communication app. So Calvin, what do you have your input and output set on your Zoom?
Mine are both set to the dual main stereo.
Okay.
And I think I know you're right, because I think initially when I set this up, I'll set it and never touch it for the most part, is I probably went and enabled mix minus on that channel because I was
Okay.
doing a bunch.
So you
But
enable mix minus on your USB 1 chat
yeah, I
to
think that's
avoid
what I
that.
ended up doing. And I could have just kept it simple and just did chat and not have to do that.
Okay, so Maestro, we'll talk about that and on sound check. We will talk to you more about this, and we'll carry on to sound check, and we will continue the conversation about your RØDECaster usage with Ecamm, and I'm going to elaborate a little bit more. Maybe we'll get into that part. So if you haven't already done so, the quickest way to get to our next show in the next few seconds is to subscribe if you haven't done so already. So if you subscribe, the next show, when the next show pop up, it will notify you that soundcheck is starting. So otherwise, just look for the channel Learner to Learner, or look for Soundcheck, and hopefully you'll find our next show coming up next. Let's see. All right. I'm checking, making sure there's nothing I miss in the chat. It looks like we're fine. Thank you all for this conversation. Again, we will carry on this conversation for the rest of October before our break for this year, and then we'll be coming back in 2026 January. So until then, see you on Soundcheck.